It takes a lot of ingredients to fix or build a car, like cooking, but without the frozen dinner easy way out. eBay Motors has 122 million parts. It's always the right fitment, so you can follow any recipe to a T. Whether it's a vintage Italian coupe that's classic like Grandma's meatballs or a German luxury car that's as complicated as Oma's rouladen, to cook up something great in the garage, use the eBay Motors app or visit ebaymotors.com. Let's ride.
Holidays are here, and so is fashionable fitness. Gift yourself a Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 3 5G, a phone that folds in half to literally stand on its own. Pair it with the Galaxy Watch 4 for ultimate wellness and wow factor. Check health stats, flex personal records. Over 90 activities can be tracked, like biking, swimming, golfing, and more. Invest in yourself with tech made to crush goals. Holidays open up with Galaxy. Shop it all at Samsung.com. 5G connection and availability may vary. Check with carrier. Products sold separately.
Hey everyone, this is the Almost World Podcast. Bringing to you mind-blowing interviews with guests from all over the world. So settle down, relax, and enjoy the show. Oh yeah, by the way, if you like the podcast, please support Elmo's World Podcast on Patreon. Your support is what helps the podcast improve more and more. 3. Welcome to Elmo's World Podcast. This is Elmo, and I am with my bro Levi from Australia. Hey man, can you introduce yourself?
My name is Levi. I go by the nickname Twitch. I'm not even a SoundCloud rapper wannabe because I haven't even began putting songs on SoundCloud for rapping. I'm not the best poet in the world. Don't know what else to say.
Yeah, okay. So are you an atheist, my friend, or are you a theist?
Yeah, I'm not
What are
100% sure about the definition of atheist, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I don't believe in a God.
Why is that?
That's a big question.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll break it down, right? Like, do you believe in the Christian God?
No. But
Okay.
I like your method.
Yeah. Okay. So if it's not the Christian God, but you might be open to another kind of
theism?
God, right? Yeah, like deism.
So I'm not a theist, but I've been with people, and I reckon I've been in the mind state where there did exist a higher force, like a higher consciousness, like something that you can't quite keep up with, but that isn't a God, so like one omnipotent God.
What do you mean by mind state?
Well, so how did I use it? I think everything's down to state of mind.
Okay. Yeah. So what kind of God might you possibly believe in then, if it's a deism God?
So I absolutely I got my definition down to just absolutely no God, which is bad because it sounds like I'm not spiritual at all. But I've been Christian. I've been really spiritual, quite deluded for a while actually, and I've like honed in I'm pretty deep. I'm pretty spiritual, but I've honed in a definition, like how I see theism. When people talk about God as in everyone and everything, and in the good in the world, I see like there's this archetype of what it is to be divine. People talk about like the universe giving and stuff, and the thing is that if you, for example, are better off and like you can help somebody, and then you can see that they're in a situation where you can help them, and with how like if it's easy to give and whatnot. And when I say you looking at somebody you can help, I mean like anybody looking at anyone they can help. And like the idea of a divine being, or like and then you're just another person within the universe helping somebody else, and then they're getting helped by the universe, and it's practically what I've gotten it down to.
So I mean, I guess like you're looking at God as this divine archetype, which mainly is the humans helping each other out, right? And there's something sacred about this, that we are like one universe, being, I guess, integrated with each other in love.
Yep. Now people go for the in love, but I'm into like there's definitely love, but it's survival, it's love. I'm into a real physical land, like we are physical, like I am the nails on the back of my fingers, I am the rocks I stand on.
Yeah, okay, so let's say that you might believe this sort of God, this divine archetype, where I guess if you look at like most religions, I think all of them actually, I guess they are sort of a guide into how humans should behave, right? Like each of them are mainly dictate the ethical life and the moral life of individuals under those religions, right? And so the common thing about them, in what you're saying, is that is this, I guess, this communal and uniform, and I guess just mutual understanding between each other to live as a species in harmony, I guess, for the benefit of mankind. I think that's what you mean by a divine archetype, right?
Well, I mean, and that fits religion in that way, and absolutely.
Okay, yeah, well, when it comes to that, right, like if you believe in that sort of thing, when it comes down to your life specifically right now, like what gives it meaning? Like why are you still
meaning,
alive?
I live every day at a time. And I work on health, fitness, keeping myself doing stuff so that I'm not like there's I don't know the chemicals like dopamine and serotonin. I can't quite list off what tasks can be done to like satisfy yourself with them, but like I'm really fulfilled. I've got my daughter that I look after, and I don't look after, but I see. I work on my spirituality in the terms of I've got a journal that I'm adding to and whatnot, and then I go through like I can get really spiritual on. I get really spiritual on Halloween. I get spiritual on full moons, but I get spiritual on new moons. So when the moon's at its absolute darkest. And okay. I strive, like I'm really busy trying to work on my state of mind, trying to keep it quiet.
Okay, so you're talking about how spiritual you are in different times of, I guess, like the year and I guess just different times. But how do you define being spiritual? Like, what is this mental state, and is it similar to a religious experience, or just a chemical high in your mind? What is it?
Well, to be spiritual, so I looked up the definition of spiritual, and it was to do with having a soul or a spirit. But then when you look into religion acts that are spiritual and whatnot, there's there's rituals of the bread and the wine, for example, and there's in witchcraft, for example, there's a number of rituals and whatnot that you can do to really be amongst, or like to be experiencing like a sacred time, or like a sacred activity, or if I dare I say magical experience. But like, yeah, I'm not quite spiritual under that definition of considering that people have a soul or spirit. So I'm hardly spiritual, but I get into spiritual activities, and I get a good benefit out of them.
Mm-hmm. Can you define spiritual activities, like, and
Yeah, so from meditating
mm-hmm.
to going for a walk on a full moon and finding a rock, bringing it home with you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, can you break that down for me? Like, for example, meditation. What is
Right.
meditation, and what does it do for you? Because I guess
Nice.
you're not stating that you have a soul, but I guess in terms of how you define spiritual, I guess it's more of just being in tune with yourself, right? Not really, or the consciousness, not really something like a
Yeah.
ghost or
So
in your
meditate.
body.
It's a good question, because when it comes to meditating, yeah, I have spoken to people who, when they meditate, when a thought comes into their mind, they they see like God before them, and when a thought comes into their mind, they take that thought and they put it at God's feet, and then the next thought comes, they put it at God's feet. Yeah. But I really try and go for the silence. So I'll be silent for a while, and a thought will come, and I'll try and let it go. And then silent for a while, next thought, next thought, next thought, and then eventually I'll be seeing things come back, back around more often. Did I cut out there
Mm-hmm.
for a second?
No, it's okay. Yeah. Well, I guess it's hard for me to grasp, like, what impact meditation does for you, but
So when
mhm.
I strive for meditation, like when I'm doing meditation, I'm getting like the standard mode of thinking, which is from silence. So then, like my next, like if I'm having a thought, I know that that's not me, like that's a distracted me.
Mhm. Well, in terms, I guess, like, meditation allows you to focus more and just clear out all the clouds of doubt in your mind. I guess all the distractions, right? And I guess focus on life and what you have to do, right? That's mainly the impact of
Yep,
meditation
down
on
to
you
what's important.
spiritually.
Yep, I agree with that.
Yeah, okay, but you know what's interesting though, right? I hadn't I guess didn't know that before at the start, but you mentioned that about witchcraft. That's something that is I guess, like, in a lot of cultures becomes really taboo, right? But like, how did you
Right,
come about this, and can you define like what this witchcraft is, and it's not the
right.
evil kind, of course,
Well, good question. I would call myself a witch, but I've been leading up to this conversation with you, Elmo, thinking that I won't even try and claim that I'm a witch, really. In the same way that I say I'm spiritual, but I'm not spiritual, is the same way that I'm witch, but I'm not witch. So, like, I can't wait for you to have podcasts with witches on, because that'll be good. And if I claim to be a witch, they'll butcher me. I mean, I'll be butchering it. um, and then, so, far out, what was the other question down to? I want to talk about evil right now. Um, so I don't believe in evil. I believe in a self-interest. So when there's evil in the world, it is somebody acting through self-interest, probably completely unethical for someone, like in the people, you know what I mean? Like purely acting for themselves. their own desires.
Mm-hmm. But I guess other than, you know, just selfish desires, there is that kind of evil that just wants others to suffer and have pain, you know? And I would even, I guess, like call self torture and self, I guess, you know, like
Destruction.
self destruction as evil as well. And
Hmm.
it that of course doesn't involve any self interest, because it is, I guess, evil, right? But
I would
when it
talk
comes
about
to,
that as a negative energy.
mm-hmm, what do you mean by a negative energy, like
So if I, like I have my ups and my downs. So if I have a time where I'm loving someone and I'm being loved, and then that gets ripped away from me, I can have like a big down of I need to pleasure seek, which obviously drives me to a hangover. Um, but yeah, so those kind of energies, and that they can, different ones can happen in moments, and you can have really really long ups and downs in terms of inner weather.
well, you know, when I look at evil, you know, I tend to go for the absolute kind of evil. You know, like for example, like in this universe of ours, there are some things that are clearly just inherently evil, right? And no matter what kind of situation, even if it's going to benefit the rest of humanity, I would still call something that evil. Like for example, like child abuse or rape,
Yeah.
right? In any case, it is absolutely evil. But you know, I've heard an atheist recently. He was asked like, "Is rape good?" And he said yes, because you know rape allowed humans to evolve from
Reproduction.
yeah, to reproduction, because like you know like the apes before, or the our pre-humans raped each other in order to, I guess, reproduce, right? So it's good,
Yeah.
right? But
I'm
I
just
guess
thinking about how much I'm anti-life.
yeah, you know, but I guess like when you talk about evil, right? Like do you think there is an something like an objective standard of evil and good in the world, or is it just like so all subjective?
Is the word objective. The word objective and subjective are a little bit beyond me, but subjective being like some people would consider evil and some wouldn't. Um, that's why it's a little bit above me because I can work it out. I would say there is, yeah, I'd say it's pretty objective.
Okay, so when you say it's objective, then there is such a thing as like something that is, you know, like purely evil, and that some things that are purely good, right? But actually,
Well,
yeah.
I was going to say, like looking at it from a Christian's perspective, I've seen two types of Christians in terms of when bad happens in the world. So when evil happens in the world, that is the devil's doing. Dare I say it? That people don't word it as the devil. They say it is, evil's doing or whatever. But and then some people would say there was sinning in that area and God did that. But the sinning is evil. See, but then the first type of person, for example, thinks that evil itself did the evil. Um, which one do you reckon you would go with as a Christian?
Well, I think that if the devil were real, then he's no different from us. You know, he's just a being with moral agency. It's also sinning, right? He's also sinning, and thus I think there's no really difference between the two. It's like it's a false dichotomy,
Yeah.
and it's all just sinning. But I guess my question is like, do you hold these Christian beliefs though?
Yeah, so I started off as a Christian. I had a really good and beautiful connection to God. Like, um, damn, I'm not feeling that smart. Ask me that question again.
Yeah, right now, like, are you holding these Christian beliefs like sin, the devil, like Jesus?
No, I'm not, and it's interesting to know that beyond deciding to or not, there's a those beliefs and those suppositions and those like your inner guilt sense and everything is all wired up to like what you believe. And for a fairly long time, I really did, and I was really with Christianity. Now, not so much.
But I guess, like, can I ask you why you left Christianity though?
So I had a psychotic episode when I was 18, and it was very Christian based, but it was like angels, demons, down to earth type. Look into the eyes of somebody, and I can tell they're either a sheep ready to be manipulated, or they're or they're out for themselves, or they're out for the good of mankind. Um, and it was really dramatic. Like all psychoses, it was a drug-induced psychosis. All psychoses are fairly dramatic, and like the mind always wants to put itself in the middle of the story, and this really happens in psychosis. It's like a waking dream, really. And it was I was basically, dare I say, um, I'm afraid to say like spoke to God, or I'm afraid to say like had Christian archetypal experiences. I'm afraid to say that, but there you go. I just indirectly just said it then. Um, and at the other end of it, with the way that I was treated in and amongst society while having these really spiritual experiences, put in a mental ward and not listened to, basically. I come out the other end of it feeling more so that Christianity isn't real. Although at the other end of it, other end of that, I still had those inner connections to what Christianity is for a fairly long time.
I guess, like, but what if you're saying that, like, you have this connection with Christianity still, even though you were, like, outcasted by it? What part of Christianity do you mean that you're still holding at that time? Like, was it the
It's pretty hard to like be a moment away from death and not pray. But I'm at that point now. I could be at a point where my whole life, right? Say if this is bullshit now because I'm not talking about real stuff. But if I was working really hard and I had $1 million and I decided to go into a casino, so not $1 million. Let's say I had $200,000. I decided to go into a casino and put it all on black. It would be really, really hard not to pray before it lands on red.
Mhm. Yeah, I guess you mean that you have these tendencies, right, to do what Christians normally do, right? Like pray.
No, I wouldn't say so. I would say that everyone sins. Um, I wouldn't be trying to change. I'd say we're still all the same. But when luck is a hard concept, but also like how hard the universe can be to you. And if you punch the universe punches back. And some people are innocent and they just get smashed with cancer. It's hard not to pray. But I am past that point now where I don't pray.
Okay, so I guess, like, when you said that there are things that you retain from being a Christian, right? That you still have now, and
I don't think I do necessarily.
yeah, okay, but I guess, like, when you mentioned that you had, like, this, you still had a connection with Christianity, still, right? But what part of Christian? And you said that, like, the what you retained is that, like, for example, like praying at when you're in a life and death situation and stuff. Yeah, you did say that, right?
I would say that, well, I mean, I said like that's an example of having a tie to Christianity.
But what is
Even if
the
you
tie
didn't
that you
call
have
yourself a
now?
Christian. Now, the only thing in common that I can see is like respecting sacred space. Like it's like I understand what it is to be sacrilegious, and the idea of what it is to be good. But or like, or may I say, divine, like, or wise.
Mm-hmm. So what do you hold as sacred right now?
Sacred is like, I mean, like if I opened up my belief system, which is what we're trying to do here, it's technically we're walking into a mental sacred space. Um, if I start talking about meditating and getting into silence, and for example, you chuckle because, for example, that would be like sacrilegious behavior. And then like when I think about what I'm doing next, I'll be brought to that chuckle. So that's um, yeah.
Okay, so I guess, like, for example, if I were to ask you like about family, about love, right, about friendship, and all that, about human life, and the value of it, I think you would also hold that as sacred, right?
I totally never thought about that, but yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, but how do you define sacred though, right? Because you do mention that you might believe in a sort of a deity, but it's more of a like just a divine archetype that's just socially constructed due to our evolution. So I don't really think it's like some god out there that you believe in, but more of just so a naturalistic phenomenon in our consciousness, right? That's collective. I think that's what the kind of deity that you believe in. So when you mention
Well,
something that's sacred, what is its nature? Like, what does it mean for it to be sacred?
hold on. I think we should talk about deities first,
Mm-hmm.
or you could have another god asking that question.
Yeah, but the deities first. We can break down to the point.
So I don't have a deity, although I had times where I could probably say I have. In Christianity, I know my nan, who's a really, really good Christian, most Christian I've ever seen a Christian be. And when she talks about like God's word and she talks about Jesus, she really does make it seem so clear and obvious that Jesus is her deity. Like she's got the Holy Spirit, like God, oof, and her deity, Jesus. And it's like, wow. Now, like going to bed at night, I've had somebody I've let into my sacred space before. Going to bed at night, I've had that person talk to me like through my own thoughts. Like it was my own thoughts, but like, uh, it's this other person's wisdom or this other person's entanglement with me. And I could define, like, I reckon I could define that as accidentally letting a person be a deity. But that's like every single person who knows what a deity is just smacking themselves in the face right now. uh, and that doesn't really, that's just in my head. Now, at the moment, I don't have a deity.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so
Sacred space.
yeah, but I guess like earlier I asked you if like if you might believe in a possible deity, and you defined it as this divine archetype, right?
Nice. Well, I mean, not really, but yeah, kind of. Let's go with that.
Yeah, so what is this divine archetype, right? I guess, like, as I mentioned, it's more of just not really something that like a god out there in the sky or something, but it's just like a mental state,
Well,
that
let's start with
collective
the
mental
funnest
state.
one.
Yeah.
Every one of, if we can call it a divine person or a divine being or whatever, every single one of them you come across has some kind of entanglement with hunting down and punishing pedophiles.
Mm-hmm.
not literally, but some of them very literally. So we can all agree there that pedophilia is evil as everybody. Um,
But when it comes to
maybe,
the deity that you believe in, or you might
which I
believe
don't.
in, yeah. And but you mentioned that you do believe in some kind of divine archetype, right?
Well, I mean, like let's go with that. What it is to be good, what it is to be divine, a divine force in the world.
So I guess like it's the deity that you believe in is some sort of divine state, I guess, that humans
Well,
can
I mean,
have.
technically, it's not a deity. Um,
So you don't
but
I believe in any deity at all.
not at all. But I mean, I do believe they all exist in the heart of people who let them into their heart. But
But I guess like just like an imaginary thing. That's it.
yeah, for each
In the
for
brain.
well, it sounds rough to say that's it. Just as much it would be rough to say that it's just an imaginary thing. But
But they
in terms
are
of and
in
it even hurts to say imaginary, really. Like because you're right, like it is, but it's nearly sacrilegious to say it like that. You have to be like um, you know, a deity that somebody is engaged with or intertwined with, or however you want to majestically put it across,
but it's
does
just
exist
I
in.
guess like limited in the human brain and doesn't exist in the outside world.
Um, yes,
Okay, so in that case, though, yeah, you are sort of defining yourself as an atheist here, right?
perhaps.
Okay, so
As in, like, I mean, I reckon I am, but I don't have the definition of atheist down to a pinpoint.
but I guess you do sort of fall into the category of an atheist because you don't believe in a
I
deity
imagine.
that is in the outside world.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so in that case, though, right? Like, what is good and what is evil? Like, can you define what it is? Like, basically, because we
Yeah.
talked about it
So
earlier.
good is like, for example, a bunch of trees in a forest, and one of them is not getting enough light, and neighboring trees are sending nutrition to it. I'd say that's good. Um,
Basically,
I'd say, like, if you're at
survivability,
a
right?
yeah, I'd say
Longer
if you're like
life is
uh
good, and lesser life and death is bad.
yeah, but not basically death. No, I think death can be pretty good.
But I guess like okay,
Less
so
alive, not so much.
the
It's bad.
preservation of life, or I guess the extension of life is good, and the shortening of life is bad. But death could be both good or bad.
Yeah, it's circumstantial.
Okay, so in that case, right, like in the conditions of, let's say, when you mentioned pedophilia, right? Like, what if, right, in a certain case, like imaginary, of course, and I wouldn't want it to ever happen, but in this case, right, if a pedophile were to abuse a child, and that abuse would actually cause a longer life for that child in the long run, and he would age 96, but if he hadn't abused that child, he would die at 18, right? So would that act be good because it caused a lengthening of life?
Fully evil, fully evil. So I
Yeah, of
suppose
course, if it's fully
that means the
evil, of
definition is
course.
down to
But I
yeah. So
guess like
I
in
think
how
that
you define good and evil,
yeah. Well, I mean, I can see where you're going there. I think that what you've just said is like, now let's just cut off that extending life to be longer doesn't count in the definition. Although I'd still say shortening life counts. So now it's not to live longer, uh, but it may still be death, uh, but it's definitely to live shorter is not okay.
Yeah, okay, but I guess yeah.
But then there's also traumatizing. Trauma itself is something that, it's like taking sunlight away from a flower, from a plant. It's not going to grow straight to the sun anymore. It's going to like have weird bits of it going off in any direction. Like to grow badly due to trauma is something that can be generational curses, really.
Mm-hmm. So I guess like causing trauma to a person is bad, and not causing trauma is it's not bad and it's good, right?
Strength. I'm pro strength. If you being traumatized makes you untraumatizable, then that's good.
Mm-hmm. So if like a pedophile causes trauma to a child, and that child becomes untraumatizable, then that act was good, right?
The act is definitely bad. But no, wait, hold up. Let me really meditate on what you're saying, because I think you did just win me over there.
Yeah, but I guess like I'm just
So I
trying
think
to
there's
understand what you're saying, bro. You're trying to make sense of it all.
I think there's a micro and a macro. So there's like the good for you, or like, it's bad for you now, good for you later kind of thing. But then it's good for you later because it's good for the people you help, or like your resilience later, but it's still bad in the moment. You know what I mean? Like there's a what's good now, and there's a what's good in all.
Mm-hmm. So how do you determine which is more significant, right? Because if it's good, if it's bad now but good for later, but if let's say that the good for later caused like long much like a more quantitative life, like a higher amount of life, and it outnumbered the bad. Therefore, like let's if the act of a pedophile causes more good in the long run, then the act was good, right? By your definition.
I think living is living, and that no one's life is going to be better than anyone else's. In terms of like, if somebody had all the money and wealth in the world, I don't think that their day to day is calculably I can't pronounce, I don't know what word to put there, but I don't think you can calculate it to be better than a homeless person who knows how to survive.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, but I guess like talking about the specific case of a pedophile causing longer life to a child because of the abusive act that he did, right? And it's, of course, it's just imaginary case, just trying to understand the situation here. So like would that act have been good by your definition?
Yeah, the act would have definitely been bad. That's a bad act in the world. But if the soul that got traumatized ended up becoming greater from that experience, then that's brilliant.
So it was good too.
Traumatizing absolutely needs to be punished, if not taken.
Yeah, I guess like he should be punished, but in a way the act was good too because it made the child stronger.
Technically.
Okay. I guess like yeah, but how about like in terms of sacrilege, right? Because you mentioned earlier that there are things that you hold sacred, especially in your mental state, right? And when those things
Right.
are like what you call that, tampered with, or yeah, belittled, then that becomes like an insult and becomes offensive, right? Like what are the things that you hold sacred, bro? And
Right, so we've had a go at this one. But like, sacred is I can't really answer that.
Okay, I guess yeah. I guess it's very might be personal, but but can I ask you like in terms of the witchcraft part again? Yeah, like how did you come about it? Like, and how did you? I
Yeah,
guess.
it's good. Hold up, let me start. It's like my first psychosis, I had a period of time where I in the story of the psychosis there was a witch that was to do with manipulating me. So then there's this real, like, earlier on in my life when I was 18, I'm 25 now, there was this inbuilt fear of this thing. I never really opened it up and thought about the existence of witches in the world, although it still was in me as a fear. And then later on, I've come across women that are like tarot deck wielding, really good at cold reading, kind of spiritual in the way of the witch kind of women. And I've met a number of them and slowly gotten closer and closer to the idea of witch. And then, like, I had a long distance friendship with a beautiful woman in America that is like really into witch, and I took it on there, which was only like a year ago.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's really interesting. Yeah, but okay, like can you talk about like what was the first step into trying to understand the, I guess, the beauty of witchcraft? And like, of course, because you came from a Christian background, there was, I guess, stigma on your part as well. Oh no, this might be bad, or is that
Well, so
mm-hmm.
my father, for example, let me tell a little story about that. My to circle back into my beginnings of witchcraft. My father once wanted to end his life when he was really young, and he did it in a way where he ran out into the darkness, into the night, ran out into the middle of a paddock, because that's where all the bad creatures are. And he went out there to end his life. And then after heaps of time being in the paddock, he's got frustrated. He's like, all right, just stormed on back home and went to bed. In the way of like, so that whole story, and then I'll say a quote, and it's like, if you see a ghost, walk straight into it. Don't run. Like, walk straight into the ghost, and it'll vanish. And then when I look into witchcraft, yeah, like, honestly, my first week with witchcraft, I hit a psychosis. So that would be the second psychosis I mentioned, but this is the third big impacting psychosis I had experienced, the last one. And yeah, and I was really dreaming while awake. It was messy. I was pushing my body to its limits and playing with stepping out of pain, and you're mentally stepping out of pain. And I'm not explaining this story very well, but there was a point where, walking through the forest at night, I stood on a broken bit of glass, and it could have been a prickle to me. I don't remember where I stood on it. Like, I kept walking, and I ended up walking on that foot for the next 2 days. But so it was a messy time, but like, it was a lot of inner kind of fear, and then becoming a witch is also like, oh shit, people might, I'm sorry for the bloop that. It's like, oh no, am I going to get burnt alive? Which is not, it's not the case, but in my psychosis, like, having a lot of that kind of stuff. Also, along that kind of trail of thought, and this is bizarre, I'm sorry, but along that trail of thought, it's like, in delusions of grandiose, where like someone so to experience or to believe that you're immortal, for example, as like if that happened all of a sudden, there'd be this following fear of, oh no, now I can't be killed, so what if I'm put in a state of being tortured for eternity? I don't know what you just heard there, Elmo, but you just heard a bunch of words.
Yeah, I did, and I understand, like, but I guess, like, in terms of the impact of witchcraft on your life, like, how would you be now if you never got into it?
How I'd be is, gee, I wouldn't have a sacred space,
Mm-hmm.
honestly.
Mm-hmm. I guess that not having the sacred space would like really cause a lot of trouble for you, of course, like mentally,
Well,
right?
it's good to have a connection to what's divine.
Hmm. Yeah, and I guess like we keep coming back to the your connection with what is divine, right? Can you still elaborate on that,
Yeah,
man? I want to
yeah, we
understand.
can totally.
Yeah,
So
please.
I think that uh, allowing certain thoughts to happen and counterproductive thoughts to try and for you to try not to let them to happen. So I think a state of mind for a person really should be. Now, this is kind of my theory, but it's also kind of what I reckon. Um, I think that so now if I can group a thought and an action into like the same kind of category here, and then if we can look at the seven sins, for example, um, so am I thinking right now? Like so if I'm meant to be silent minded, right? Now if I'm thinking, it's like, why am I thinking? And then am I thinking because like if I'm thinking about food, it's like, am I thinking because I'm actually gonna need nutrition, or am I thinking because this is gluttony, or or you know? And then when I act, it's like, am I acting for a real purpose, or am I wasting energy? And then like if if I'm acting, is it for one of the sins? Is it for me? Is it for uh, me in someone else's eyes? Like, um, yeah. So I look at the seven sins and I try to really incorporate that, like to not get caught up in pride. I think the definition of pride is really interesting, and that you could probably get so pride and ego, if not the same thing, wouldn't be far from each other. And it's like so I could boast that I'm great. Obviously, that's simply pride, um, or egotistical. But I think that saying any word at all and actually expecting somebody to listen to it means that you've put value onto your words, and that you're prideful enough to do that, or you're abusing your right to speak.
Hmm. Well, when it
Um,
comes to right, like the seven sins, right? The pride, envy, gluttony, hate, all of that stuff, right?
Read.
um yeah, I
Yeah.
guess like if I'm trying to understand how you define it from your perspective, because you're not someone who believes in a god with divine command theory, like saying like, oh, this is bad and this is good, but it's more of just a subjective realm for you. So I'm guessing
Suppose.
that, yeah, I'm guessing that because you're someone that probably believes in evolution too, right? So the
I
seven
do actually.
sins would be something that are like mental states in human beings that cause disharmony, and I guess like prevent the
Well,
maximal well-being
well,
of society, right?
well. Uh, yeah, but also, well, yes, but it's. I would say it like the seven sins are like things that are not a divine way to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I guess, but when it comes to how you define divine, right? Like in a godless world, what does it mean for something to be divine? I
It's
wanna,
nutritious. It helps.
yeah.
It's like it would be something that exists and doesn't take. I mean, it doesn't like weigh on people like a parasite, but like it exists. It's nutritious. It's beneficial, if not like just for itself. Uh, well, I mean, gee, I think ugh, all existence is divine. But when you say it like that, that's horrible because that means nothing's divine, kind of. But it doesn't. All existence would be is divine.
Okay, so okay, let me break this down, right? Like you mentioned that it is divine. Something is divine if it's, I guess, beneficial or not self-serving.
Yeah,
Right?
no, I mean, go on.
Yeah. So in that case, right, if it's nutritious, as you mentioned, right, um, what what does, can you give something for an example of what is nutritious, right? I want to know.
Yeah, no, I don't think this is a good pathway to go down because I really did conclude that I think all things are divine.
Mhm. But okay, so when you mention like all things are divine, does that include like the seven sins?
Well,
All things are divine except the seven sins. If that's what
no,
you
no, I
mean.
wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that. I'd say that I'd be thinking certain ideas are not divine. So certain thoughts are not divine. I
Yeah,
would
so
say
not
that the
not
seven sins are
everything,
divine.
not everything is divine, right? In that
Yeah,
case,
I'd say that nice, nice. So in my mind, I've got it down to counterproductive thoughts, for example, would not be divine. And then the opposite of divine, I would be calling toxic.
mm-hmm. So the non, so everything that is non-toxic is divine, right?
I'd say so.
Okay, cool, cool. So what makes something toxic and so not toxic?
So if I can just talk about thoughts
Mm-hmm.
so if I can just talk about thoughts and I say I'm dwelling on the past and complaining to a person or to myself, the vibration of thoughts that I'm putting out are in a low state. It's going to drag people down around me and it's going to keep me down. So that's toxic.
Mm-hmm. So I guess like you being toxic means that you're not really helping other people, and
Yeah, and especially not yourself.
yeah, not yourself, and it's actually like causing negative things to occur in your life or other people's lives, right?
Mm. So I'm down with here's a thought experiment. Like it's kind of a thought experiment because it's not real life, but it's kind of a thing um, where I think that we should be able to get home from work, do our like clean ourselves, eat food if we're meant to. And once we're all sweet there, go into either our bed or our seat or our spot or our yoga mat and sit perfectly still in darkness practically. And the next time we move will be to get like the next time we think will be a productive thought, and if it's not, shouldn't be thinking. And the next time we move should be calculated use of energy. Like it is then time to eat when I go and eat. It's not when I get around to it type. And I put that down as a divine thing to strive for in myself.
Mm-hmm. Okay, okay. I guess like that, if that's how you define divine, then okay, for sure. Okay, but
Me very uniquely,
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Yeah, yeah. When it comes to like pursuing your passion, though, right? Like you're someone who's age 25 already, and you have a daughter already, and that's awesome. Um, when it comes to like pursuing your dreams, like what is your I guess like tagline or like your motto there, or
Yeah, so
like what
yeah,
guides you?
in my being, my most like my drive is my most lacking area of my life. I have very little drive at all to like I'm not ambitious. Um, so right now I'm working on my grimoire, my book of shadows, my book of light, my book of mirrors, my book where I write down my belief system and like spells, for example, rituals and stuff. Did I cut out then for a second, Elmo? Oh, sorry. Um, so right now I'm working on that. I'm working on really wrapping up my belief system for all sorts of good reasons. It's like I've spent a lot of time thinking about thoughts. I've spent a lot of time thinking about what is, and sharpening my mind against others and other people's beliefs. And when I can, so right now, and this is this is my passion at the moment. Like I said about this book, when I get this book done, I should be able to stop running my mind over my own verbiage. I should be able to be fully undistracted and move forward in a productive way, which will literally just be finding a good career.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And how about like, I guess like at the end of the day, when the time comes, every person will be on a deathbed, right? Like looking back at their lives, right? And what would you expect, I guess, like want to be saying, when you're thinking about everything that you've done with your life? What would be the final thoughts that you would want?
Right. Well, I'm really not one to think about the past. I think that I don't have an answer to that. Because I'm going into an experience of life right now, which may or may not be, and I'm really afraid to say not, but it's pretty much going to be not productive. Dare I cast that spell by saying those evil words? But it's like if I was on my deathbed and I was looking back to a very unproductive life, and if I was on my deathbed looking back to a very productive life, there might be one state of mind in reality where and it might only last 20 seconds, it might last a bit longer, it might last a moment, where the difference is experienced then, where the state of mind could be really proud of what I've accomplished. But then that, if I'm looking back and I'm really not proud of what I've accomplished, obviously I'd move faster into trying not to think about the past. But at the other end of that state of mind, I'm going to be on my deathbed, and I'm going to be rapt that it's over. I had a good run.
Awesome. Yeah. And Levi, we're at an hour now of talking, and thank you so much for coming on the podcast, man. And yeah, we also had a good run on this episode, man. It was really interesting diving into like your thoughts and what you thought about witchcraft and life, and even what kind of God you believed in, which is, I guess, you don't believe in any. Yeah.
I work out every day. I eat really well, and I think I'm really good for one node in the justice system of all people. And I'm working towards strength because I think a wise person should be strong, but that's probably just me.
Yeah. Well, it's been a fun conversation with you, bro. Thank you so much, man. Hope you have a great day.
Love the podcast. All right, man. Cool.
Bye,
Thank
man.
you so much for having me.
And I'm sorry I woke you up 4 a.m., bro. It's 2 a.m.
Nah, it's good. I wake up easy.
Yeah. Okay, bye, man.
Bye.
So that's the end of it. Thanks for tuning in, guys. This is your host, Elmo Ador Jr. And thank you for listening in. And please subscribe. Please follow us on Facebook. Please follow this. Please. Thanks.
The skills and credentials you need for the career you want are within reach at University of Maryland Global Campus. An accredited state university, UMGC offers online courses, personalized advising, lifetime career services, and more. Visit umgc.edu/podcast.
Holidays are here, and so is fashionable fitness. Gift yourself a Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 3 5G, a phone that folds in half to literally stand on its own. Pair it with the Galaxy Watch 4 for ultimate wellness and wow factor. Check health stats, flex personal records. Over 90 activities can be tracked, like biking, swimming, golfing, and more. Invest in yourself with tech made to crush goals. Holidays open up with Galaxy. Shop it all at Samsung.com. 5G connection and availability may vary. Check with carrier. Products sold separately.